Hi, Councillor Richard Morris here today at Worcestershire Association of Carers in Ombersley Street, and here we're meeting Carol. Carol, hello.
Hello there.
Good to meet you today. You're just going to tell us about Worcestershire Association of Carers and the shop and how you've reopened after COVID.
Sure, yeah.
And you've got some good things here to get people started as soon as they come into the shop.
Exactly. We've just moved these inside now because we've just shut the shop this evening, but normally we'd have this sign outside asking people to hand sanitise. And as they come in immediately inside the door, we'd have the station with the hand sanitizer available, and asking them to make sure that they maintain the social distancing. We've also, moving round, we've got the screen up at the till. We're asking people, if at all possible, to pay us by contactless means. Little reminders about social distancing. And one thing we're quite sad about, but we've had to do to keep everybody safe, is to temporarily shut our changing rooms.
Okay.
Because we're quite proud of our changing rooms because they're a bit smarter than the average changing room. But just at the moment, it's the right thing to do and to leave them shut. And we've moved some of the things out of the shop. For example, like we used to have a toy section in the middle, which of course the children loved, but they like to come and play with the toys that were there. So we've temporarily moved that out of the way, just so that there's enough room for people to move around the shop in a one-way system.
And you've got a large number of clothes. How do
Yes.
you manage that when people touching it at all? Do you?
What we're tending to do, so people can't try them on in here obviously, but if they take them home and we say we've got a refund policy in place, so we ask them to come back. Because we've asked everybody to sanitise their hands on the way in, the risk assessment showed that the risk of passing anything on clothes is very low anyway.
Okay, that's good, that's good. And you were closed like all other shops during COVID.
We actually preempted lockdown. We shut, we could see what was coming, so we shut the shop on the 18th of March, and we used the rest of that month to redecorate the shop, tidy things up, sort things out, before the staff were then furloughed from the 1st of April, and we reopened on the 2nd of July.
Okay, but my understanding is you were still supporting during COVID for the
Yes.
community.
Yes, well, you know, as an organisation that supports unpaid carers, we were very well aware of the anxieties that people had, and that being scared about not having access to masks, shortage of supplies around hand sanitizer. So we worked with Piston Gin in Worcester to get supplies of hand sanitizer, which we kept here, and then we could either deliver them to carers along with face masks, or we could ask that they could make an appointment to come in and collect some from here. So we were able to make use of our shop on a voluntary basis, but
That's
without
brilliant.
actually trading.
Yeah, that's a brilliant support, and I bet heavily needed and
Yes.
welcomed in that time. So now, obviously over COVID, people were building stocks. They were doing things in their house and sorting things out. So I would imagine you've had bundles of deliveries.
We have, but what we've asked people to do, I think in common with most other charity shops, is to be really thoughtful about what they bring us in, because anything that comes in we are quarantining for 72 hours, so we can't immediately get it processed and out on the shelves. So we're having to create a little bit of extra storage space. Our main office is over on the Blackhole Trading Estate in Worcester,
Right.
so we've still got some stuff over there in quarantine that we can bring it here. But we're asking people to phone us up, find out whether we've got capacity to be able to take donations, and if they are, then we can arrange for them to bring them into the shop.
Yeah, so you're doing delivery by appointment.
Yes.
Yeah. So which is really a good way of controlling it and make
I
sure it
think
comes
so.
safely.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, carers have been massively in the news, and everyone's been so thankful for the great service and great support that they've been given
Yes.
during COVID. How does the operation of Worcestershire Association of Carers work? So money's generated through the shop. Where does that?
Well, how we work, so we're a registered charity. We've been going now since 1997, so been around for quite some time. And just to sort of reinforce that the carers that we support are the unpaid carers, so friends and family members,
Right.
rather than the paid carers. But interesting, I've just been reading an article that one of the big national charities said that they reckon during COVID there's been an additional 4 million people who've taken on a caring role across the country.
Right. Okay.
So I think the population of Droitwich is something like 23,000.
Yeah.
More than
Yeah.
10% of people in Droitwich will have a caring role. So I think during COVID it would have been much closer to 15%. That's an awful lot of people, even locally, who will have taken on a caring role. how we support them is that we have a telephone helpline, we provide information and advice for carers, we signpost them to all sorts of other support that they can have. We know that during the 3 months, the sort of first 3 months of the pandemic, we made something like approaching 5,000 calls to carers just to check they were okay, find out if there's anything they wanted, suggest that if they needed, as we've already talked about, the hand sanitizer, whether they'd like any of that. So really just being there for them. And you know, it's sad in some ways of making some of those proactive calls that we'd speak to people who said, thank you so much for ringing. Nobody, I haven't spoken to anybody for 2 months. So, you know, at least we've been able to try and keep in touch with them, and they've really appreciated that we've cared about them.
That's
while
brilliant.
They're caring for other people.
And something that's really, this horrible time that people have been through, and really I worry about people who've been isolated.
Yes.
But one of the great things that's come through is the community spirit.
Indeed.
And people looking out for each other, you know, supporting each other, which has been superb.
I think it is, and I think, you know, you have to try and find some good out of anything that happens out of this, and I think that real community focus with people being kinder to each other, I think really, I really hope we can keep that going. You know, and we've had some other unexpected bonuses, like using video calls for carers. What we realised, of course, I think we knew this, but it was about making it happen. Provided that we can talk them through the technology, more people have been able to drop into our virtual coffee mornings and our training session, because they're not worried about leaving the person they care for at home, because they're still
Very
at
true,
home.
yes.
So we're certainly wanting to keep things like that going as we move forward.
That sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
A week on Friday, I think, there's the enforcement of the face masks.
Yes.
So that'll be part of the checks as people come in as well.
Indeed, what we do is we've got 2 part-time members of staff here, Sue and Davina, and we have we've been very fortunate with the number of volunteers we've had coming back as well, because they've seen what we put in place and that we're trying to keep them safe as well. So we have somebody on the door allowing the right number of people in, and we will politely, if somebody hasn't got a face covering, make sure that they don't come in. You know, we will have some small supplies, but that's only because we don't want to miss out on the sales. But you know, really, I think we're just all going to have to get used to this in the same way as we do. I've used the example earlier of seatbelts. If you're old enough to remember when seatbelts were first introduced and how everybody objected to it, now do we give it a second thought?
No, it's commonplace, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think, you know, it's that behaviour change. I'm struggling to remember to do it at the moment, but we'll get there in the end.
Got mine on me.
Yes.
But, yeah, it's not on the face,
no,
but
that's great. Yeah.
but great. You can see such a great array of things that you've got for sale here as well.
Yes.
So I hope people do take the time to come down. It's all this matter of shopping locally, supporting the Droitwich community, and there's plenty for them to come and look at here and hopefully buy some good products. More importantly, though, is that they'll be putting money into the Worcestershire Association of Carers and supporting carers, which has been phenomenally good during these times, and we need it to be successful. So thank you for everything you do and for your team. Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking the time to come here today.
No problem. Thank you.